Okay, Bleach is getting closer and closer. Done a few videos that finally did the tier list. Finally, it recorded, it went well. I think it's a good video. It should be up by the time I upload this. But let's just keep the Bleach train rolling. I've done best unpacked toes. I've done expectations and why we need this new series. I've done my disappointment in Chad. But let's continue with another disappointment. I'm the Loudmouth Grenade and welcome back. And today I'm looking at, in my opinion, the most disappointing character that hurts the most, in my opinion at least. Kaname Tousen. Now, as a black man, I'm going to be looking out for black characters in any media, whether it be anime, music, movies, TV, YouTube. I'm going to be looking at you that way simply because it's about representation. How does the people who made your character represent us by including you? How did your character go? And first of all, this is not me trying to, call anyone racist or anything, call them out for doing something. This is not that. You're not racist if you do shit characters, unless your character is just a shit representation of a black person. Then I might question how you feel a black person is. But what I mean by this is, if you have a character who's black, I'm always going to look at how you use that character, the stories they're involved in, and how they do. Like, for example, I think in a future video I might do Horatio from Watch Dogs 2, if you haven't played that game. He's one of the main side characters who is hardly given voice lines, hardly seen in the game, and is just killed off in a side. Oh, so what is side? It's like a main mission, but it's just treated like a side mission. So I'll probably talk about it in a future video. But yeah, it's a black character who wasn't really treated as important, wasn't really memorable compared to the other characters, pushed off to the side. This is not the same argument I can say for Kaname Tousen. When I first saw Kaname Tousen, he looked sick. He looked really, really cool. His character design was good. He was like a blind swordsman like Kenshi from Mortal Kombat. He was a good looking character. Even his backstory was interesting, how this woman he looked up to had a sense and an ideal of what justice was. And he himself idolized his woman. And one day this woman was unfortunately murdered by her husband, and nothing was done about it. He sort of abducted these ideals. And I thought, wow, that's a cool backstory. That's very good. He was the captain, let me see, what was it? The 9th Division of the Gote 13. And that was a good position, very well respected, very strong. And he had this idea where he wanted to take the path of least bloodshed. So he wasn't necessarily against violence, just violence in a sense that led to less people being killed in the first place. And that's something you rarely see. It's something that echoes main character syndrome, I want to take the path where less people are killed, but I will kill if I have to. But then unfortunately, his treatment is that he is basically treated like a nothing side villain. Yes, side villain, even though, he had that sense of justice, a sense of right and wrong. He eventually betrayed the society he worked for, but it didn't really do much. He was essentially a henchman. He was essentially like a henchman and a hypocrite. I'll go into detail why, but let's go through his story beats, right? Story beats. So, he went up against Kenpachi Zaraki. He lost. Even though his ability is one of my favorites in terms of the whole anime and manga. Where his Zanpakuto, if I can find the names. There's too many names to keep up with, so I had to write them down. I don't care what you think of me, go away. Let's just see. What is this? Zusumushi. Zusumushi. I'm not good at Japanese. Where it releases a sound that knocks out those who hear it. So basically, if you hear it, you just get knocked out. It's painless, it doesn't hurt you, you're just knocked out. And this way, again, it fits into his personality. It's the least amount of bloodshed that you can get. And here's another one where it basically rains down swords. That sort of contrast, and again, his hypocrisy. What about this raining down of swords speaks, least amount of bloodshed. But it's his Bankai, which I felt was the coolest, which is Enma Kurogi, which is basically makes like a dome. And if you're inside this dome, you can't hear or see anything. You can only feel. So when he cuts you, you feel the cuts. And that's basically OP if you go against the right people. Unfortunately, he went against someone like Kenpachi, who is a beast, who is a juggernaut, who hardly feels pain, hardly takes damage, and just loves to fight. So when Tosen cut him, he grabbed the sword and just finished him in one hit. Because he realized, if I could feel the pain of you cutting me, then the next time you cut me, I'm just going to stop your blade and cut you. And it worked. Tosen lost that fight. And that's when I got the sense of, oh no, you're not going to be strong, are you? And I was correct in that assumption. Because between that and the one fight he had, because he only had maybe 2 other fights, and he lost in those. He lost in the flashback, and then he lost later on. It was just so disappointing. So disappointing. The second loss. Okay, technically, the one I just described is like his second loss, chronologically. The first loss was when he tried to take out Shinji, but he just couldn't. They couldn't let him have that. They couldn't let him have that. Such a cool Shikai Bankai, and you couldn't let him have that. Oh dear. There was the last loss that really pushed me over. It was when he became like an Iran carb hybrid and he released his state. He basically became worse than he actually was. Because he was slower than usual. He was less effective than usual. And because in his state he could actually see, because remember he's blind, he basically become ineffectual. Because this was his first time seeing, he didn't know what to think. And so his former lieutenant just came up and stabbed him in his head. And ended it just like that. just like that. It was just disappointment. It's like Chad. You've given this guy a cool design, cool backstory, and you basically reduced him to nothing. Nothing. He had so much potential in what he could have done. He could have been such a threat. If he maybe killed off some lieutenants, maybe a captain or two, maybe he lasted longer in the fight. Maybe we saw his rank up for just a bit longer. Maybe we learned about him just a bit more, but no. I'm sorry for anytime I talk about someone disappointed, it just drags it. I have to drag. Because I had such high hopes for your character. But then you end up dying. You end up dying earlier than all the rest. Being weaker than all the rest. And just basically being a side character. You're like equivalent to... You have no equivalent because you're just disappointing. Just disappointing. I expected the world from you and you gave me nothing. Nothing. But yeah, sorry, that's my war bowl. If I was writing it, here's what I would have done. I would have made him okay, he was Aizen's top henchman, right? I would have had him kill loads of people. In terms of, the captains and the lieutenants, just people that wasn't really interested to begin with, and you didn't spend time with them anyway, so no one would miss them. But coming back to his hypocritical nature, in order to do what was necessary with Aizen, because you thought Aizen was the path of less bloodshed, you had to kill thousands of innocents, which was more bloodshed. This is hypocritical. You messed up already. Now someone could argue that's just to show, how bad, he went down this dark path in search for his own justice. But in my eyes, it just makes you look stupid. Because you had this well-intentioned idea, which fell to the wayside when you just got a glimpse of power. Because he grew up poor, he grew up, like most people, poor and abandoned, and this woman who he idolized was killed in front of him, even though he was blind. But instead of, taking that to do better, the minute you got just a little bit of power, you fell to the side. And that was ultimately your downfall. I wanted greater things for you, I really did. But, we all just can't get that. But yeah, that's just my look at Tosen. I'm not sure what the next Bleach video is. I'm not too sure. I think I'm running out of ideas finally. Is there any more disappointments? Anymore? Maybe it's time to stop looking at disappointments and time to start looking at great additions like Grimja's a cool character, Kapachi's a sick character. Maybe look into Byakuyo's one. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, you know the drill. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one.